Have you seen the prices of X570 motherboards? Hey, welcome back to Axel GT. If you haven't already subscribed, be sure to subscribe for future content. But let's talk about the X570. AMD fans have had the good fortune of AMD keeping their word and sticking with the AM4 socket at least till 2020. But the price of the new X570 motherboards are stupidly expensive. So let's go ahead and take a look at it and see if it's actually worth it for the average gamer. While there wasn't a huge change when AMD switched chipsets from the 300 series to the 400 series, mainly it was just support for higher clock memory through BIOS uplifts. The X570 is a different story. It has added support for PCIe Gen 4, taking the theoretical bandwidth limit from Gen 3's X8 7.8 GB per second and X16's 15.8 GB per second. Gen 4 is double those numbers. The X570 also has better trace routing to the memory slots, plus a better I/O die on the 3000 series chips, both allowing for higher clock memory to run more stable. Now let's get more in depth on PCIe Gen 4. Ryzen 3000 CPUs have 24 total PCIe lanes, 16 for the GPU graphics lanes, 4 lanes for NVMe SSD lanes, and the 4 remaining lanes go to the X570 chipset. So now that we have a basic understanding of the main differences in the X570 versus previous generations, now it's time to ask to ourselves, is it worth it? In my opinion, the short answer is no, not for your average gamer. And the long answer? Well, it's also no, and here's why. The first thing we're going to look at is the new X570 chipset draws over double the power when compared to the 300 and 400 series motherboards. That's the reason for the switch to active cooling on the chipset, because the higher power draw also increases the chipset temperature. Now, I'm not a fan of active cooling. In my experience, this just adds another point of failure to your motherboard. As you can see in these examples, active fan cooling on the chipset has been around a long time, and the experiences I have had with them has not been a good one. I'd say in all the years I have built PCs, the fan on the North Bridge has died within a year. And I know I'm not alone. I've had to replace countless North Bridge fans due to failure. Not to mention that some of them have a really annoying coil whine. And it really doesn't enthuse me to see this trend return. Now comes the subject of CPU performance. The new Ryzen 3000 CPUs are faster and more efficient than the 1000 and the 2000 series. But here's the kicker. Your new 3000 series CPU will not give you any more performance being put in an X570 board when being compared to the 400 series or 300 series board. So there's no CPU gain here. Now we get to the most contentious reasoning. PCIe Gen 4 does have increased bandwidth, but for today's graphics cards, they don't saturate the Gen 3 specifications, at least for X16 mode. So for a gamer with a single GPU and a NVMe or a couple of SATA drives, you will not see any more performance with X570. As for now, it looks like to me that the X570 chipset is for content creation and media production, and then it's only in extreme circumstances. And when I mean extreme, I'm talking about someone having 2 high-end GPUs, like 2 2080 Ti's, while also having 2 NVMe drives in a RAD configuration, something your average gamer is not likely to have. Now let's look at Newegg for current pricing. This here is current pricing for Newegg's featured X570 motherboards. This price premium is just way too expensive for a gamer to pay for minimal to to non-existent performance increases. And even with looking at the lowest price motherboards, even these prices are on the expensive side. And don't get me started on the high-end boards. These prices are so over the top, all I can say is...
Alrighty then!
So here would be my recommendation. If you have already jumped on the Ryzen bandwagon, and you have a 300 or 400 series motherboard that has a compatible BIOS update for the Ryzen 3000 series, I would keep it. Update your BIOS to the latest version, and pop in your newest Zen 2 chip and enjoy it to your heart's content. Or if you're in the process of building a PC, or you're about to, purchase a decent B450 or X470 motherboard. Prices on these boards will not induce a stroke like the X570 boards will. As a gamer, I would skip this generation of motherboards, possibly waiting till cheaper B550 motherboards release next year. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for future content. Plus, share this video with your friends. Until next time, I'm out of here. You all have a good one.